would say the entire justice system is absurd, and it is clear on your record your political ideology matters a heck of a lot more than the rights of those women that you endangered. I think you're a radical, and I think you have no business being a judge.
This video right here will be clip heavy, so go ahead and get ready for a lot of interruptions as I explain to you guys exactly why it is so very, very, very important that you actually look up the judges before you actually vote for them in upcoming elections. So what on earth led to Ted Cruz basically blowing his top right there at the end? Well, this video right here is about why it is so very, very important that you pay very close attention to the actual ballot itself when it comes to actual judges. You see, judges can decide a lot of things, and of course, a lot of things that a lot of these judges are deciding are things that, quite frankly, you would not see in the real world. I don't think I have to talk about everything, especially given the fact that I'm showing you guys this thing right here from the New York Post, and I want to say there's another one that kind of confirms this one that came from another news outlet. But a while back, there was an incident, and I even recall doing a video on this, where Rikers Island had allowed a biological male, pretending to be a woman, of course, claiming that he was, to enter into a women's prison. Now, we've had this conversation on bathrooms, women's sports, all this stuff, to the point to where YouTube has kind of gotten it inside them to limit the ads on videos like this, and not only limit the ads on videos like this, but also at the exact same time, they also love to try to suppress the issue, but that right there will not stop me from talking about it because it's obviously a pretty big deal. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, these are prisons. These right here are people who are being locked up for crimes that they committed, and you would be 100% correct. I don't really have much sympathy for those who are in the pen. I really and truly do not. However, I do believe in redemption and rehabilitation in certain circumstances. I'm not completely heartless, even though there are obviously a lot of lefties who would come to this channel and say, you're just a heartless Nazi, which of course is exactly the line that they would throw at just about anybody that disagrees with him. But the thing is this right here. Women's prison. Do they really and truly deserve to have a grown man go inside of their living quarters? I mean, it's already bad enough. And I've also talked about this at length, especially when it comes to the topic of bathrooms, because in my home state of North Carolina, back in 2016, we were the ones who were kind of the hotbed of this topic, because we had a governor at the time who, for whatever reason, Pat McCrory, could not get out in front of it and could not actually hammer down the message that men do not belong in women's spaces. Bathrooms primarily. And of course, it eventually led to locker rooms, now prisons. And you got to ask yourself a question. And if you guys remember the incident that occurred in Loudoun County, Virginia, where a young girl student was assaulted, I have to say it that way because of YouTube's algorithm, then you probably would think to yourself, this right here is extremely screwed up. But of course, you've got people out there who say that you're assigned a gender, that it's a social construct, and of course, oh, he can be identified as whatever, she can identify as whatever. And many people are wondering if these judges really and truly believe the nonsense that they're pushing.
That judge is a MAGA judge, and you'll win in 2 seconds. If you sue there, it's a leftist judge, and you'll lose in 2 seconds. Or I should say, did I misspeak? With the MAGA judge, you win in 2 seconds. With the leftist judge, you lose, because they don't care. They don't care about the facts of the case. They care that you're on the wrong side. You're just a bigot and a liar. They care that they want to empower their faction. Now, unfortunately for us on the right, you go to a judge who is a constitutionalist and they'll try to apply the law fairly. You might lose. This is the left's wager. If you're a leftist cult member, you win. If you're on the right and you believe in America and the Constitution, you'll get a fair hearing, which means you can lose too.
Then you got Tim Pool. Now, Tim, in his episode that he did on this, it was about 22 minutes long total. He basically tried to say that this right here initially was what these people really and truly think. This right here being the judges. And of course, he would then turn right back right over the course of this and then say that, well, maybe it's just to advance their career. It's obviously a little bit of both, because when you put balloons in there, then obviously you will see that loony outcomes will occur. However, I'm going to prove to you that it's more so what they really and truly think, because there's something that Tim missed in his commentary that I actually picked up on that nobody actually thought about. But we're going to watch this and we're going to react to this, and I'm going to tell you exactly what's really and truly going on. Let's roll this first part, or ruling on. And it's led to this conundrum, this extremely weird conundrum for people who live in areas where a judge can make a ruling like what you're about to see now. And of course, you wonder why it is so many people are leaving states like New York, leaving states like California, leaving these very, very blue areas. Makes you wonder why that's the case. So, how did we get here? Well, it really started with John Kennedy, Senator John Kennedy, questioning this judge. And of course, to go on top of that, eventually Ted Cruz would question, then it would get back to John Kennedy. Now, I could show you guys videos of Josh Hawley questioning judges, Tom Cotton questioning judges. I'll try to find some of this to put inside the B-roll footage, because I did say that I would try to give you guys better edited videos, which, of course, is my actual goal at this moment in time. Not just get the word out, give you guys the facts, and tell you what's going on, and tell you how to handle it, but also at the exact same time give you better overall edited videos, especially when it comes to mainstream media. But this exchange had one more commentator thinking about this. And, of course, he's been screaming about this for a while, too. But, of course, judges really and truly are important, and you're seeing this in this area like, say, New York City, where you've got a woke district attorney, Alvin Bragg. By the way, to those people who claim that you need to define the term woke, basically what it is extreme political correctness to the point to where killers and thieves and rapists are out on the street committing crimes again. Stuff like that there, claiming that you identify as a dog, even though you're a little boy, or claiming that you're a woman, even though that you're a man, or that you're a man, even though that you're actually a woman. Stuff like that there. Of course, if you've not figured it out by now, I really and truly don't know what to tell you. I really don't. I'm just assuming that the person who's doing that is probably somebody who's trying to say that the term has been used too much. But of course, at the end of the day, you've still got to fight back against it. But speaking of that commentator, let's roll this.
In your court, what matters more? The rights of individuals or your political ideology?
I apply the law to the facts.
I asked a question, which matters more?
Well, my political ideology doesn't matter at all.
Okay, so I don't believe you. And I think this case demonstrates that you are willing to subjugate the rights of individuals to satisfy your political ideology. This case involves a male defendant who raped a 9-year-old boy. Was he guilty of that?
Yes, the petitioner pled guilty to that.
Okay, so he raped a 9-year-old boy. He also raped a 17-year-old girl. Was he guilty of that?
He pled guilty. The petitioner pled guilty to that crime as well.
So was he guilty?
I hope so, because she pled guilty to it.
He was a he when he did this.
That's correct.
1 year after being released again, he was convicted of having child pornography. Is that correct?
I'm unclear on exactly the time frame that you're at, but the petitioner was convicted of distributing child pornography.
Now, I'm going to take a wild guess to say that you heard everything that judge said. Not only what the judge said, but the actual facial expressions, too. It's obviously pretty wild what's going on here. However, I think the next clip explains exactly what's really and truly going on here, and the judge should, quite frankly, know better. Now, I played that first one, obviously, as a bit of a preamble. Well, let's play the second one, so that way I can explain to you what's actually going on.
That was images of adults violently raping children.
Abhorrent conduct.
Okay.
For which there are real victims.
And this individual, 6'2", biologically a man. A minute ago you said 6'2", biologically a man. A minute ago you said that when this man decided that he was a she, you said this individual was, quote, I wrote it down, sober and entirely a female. That phrase struck me as remarkable. Did this individual have male genitalia?
I think what I said, or at least what
that is a verbatim quote, entirely a female.
Sorry, what I meant to say was hormonally a female.
Okay, but that's not entirely. Did this individual have male genitalia?
Yes.
So you took a 6'2" serial rapist, serial child rapist with male genitalia, and he said, I'd like to be in a women's prison. And your answer was, that sounds great to me. Let me ask you something. The other women in that prison, do they have any rights?
A lot of people in the legal world have a pretty good idea where I'm going with this, or maybe they're expecting me to go into a certain direction. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an attorney at all, but I did learn this when I was in school to be a paralegal. I did learn this when I went through law enforcement academy, even though obviously you guys know my history. I never really got hired after I graduated, but still the point is this right here. There's this thing called common law. Common law, for the most part, is determined as judge-made law. Now, I'm pretty sure some attorneys will be in the comment section to add a lot more to it, and they may even counter what I'm about to say. But still, at the same time, though, I'm glad that they do this because I'm just giving you guys the basic crux, the basic premises here. The thing is this right here about common law is that the judge can make a decision after a verdict has been rendered. Basically, it's like saying guilty, not guilty, or we'll just stay within guilty. Like if a jury comes back with a guilty verdict, then obviously the judge is in charge of sentencing. However, the judge can also make decisions like time served, depending on the situation. The judge can maybe look at the overall case, look at the law itself, and say, this right here doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I think that this right here is a little bit extreme. Or in some circumstances, the judge can say, this guy right here is a repeated rapist, a repeated schmedo, a repeated CP trafficker, and probably should not be in a prison with grown women. Some of those women, by the way, are very, very young women who just committed an extremely bad mistake at a very, very young age. Like I said, I'm not simping for the criminal or anything here. I told you before, I don't really have much sympathy for them. But at the same time, I also did tell you that I do believe in redemption. I do believe in rehabilitation, especially if you get locked up young for something like, say, simple assault or maybe even good old-fashioned robbery. I mean, you can probably get reformed and change your life. Seek Jesus, all that type of stuff there, and go on to have a very good life. And, of course, people will learn from the mistakes. There are people who have been locked up, who have gotten out, gotten themselves cleaned up, and actually live very, very good lives to this day. The point is this right here, though. The judge in this case has the authority to say that this person does not need to be locked up with other women. This person needs to be, how do I say, in a separate prison. I think the fear is that this individual will get killed when he's in prison with grown men. But we'll talk more about that on the other side of this one here.
Is that a question you're
Yes,
asking me?
the other women in that prison, do they have any rights?
Of course.
Do they have the right not to have a 6'2" man who is a repeat serial rapist put in as their cellmate?
Senator Cruz, I considered the facts presented to me, and I reached a decision
I asked you a
based on what
question.
the law
I asked
is.
you a question. Do they have a right not to have a 6'2" man who is a serial rapist put in as their cellmate? Do those women have a right to that?
Every person who's incarcerated has the right to be safe in their space.
But you didn't think so. You didn't think so. And in fact, I'm going to give some quotes from your order because Senator Kennedy is right. This is not a judge's order. This is a political activist. By the way, the beginning of your order says, at birth.
Okay, now let me say something right quick about the inmate population, because I'm pretty sure somebody's probably thinking to themselves, my God, you're leaving some things out. And of course, whatever I'm leaving out, I'm filling in right now. Before we go any further, like I said, this right here is going to be a very clip-heavy video. It's going to be a relatively lengthy video because we've still got to get to John Kennedy's questioning, which won't be as long because I think when Kennedy came back and actually re-questioned everything and looked at all this stuff, I think it made a lot more sense, especially when you get to the actual real true facts behind this, especially everything that was going on behind the scenes with this particular case, this particular individual that she put inside of a woman's prison, of course, and the person should not have been there. Let me say this really quick. Inmates, and I'm just going off of the stories that I told you guys I did believe in redemption because I have been around people who had very, very degenerate lifestyles, just very, very stupid stuff, and got locked up, went to prison, got out, reformed their life, and haven't reoffended. This right here is what I wanted to say. If you are somebody who is a CP trafficker or a schmedo, like I say it very, very odd, or a grapist, especially if you're a child grapist, you will not be treated well inside the penitentiary. You will be treated as the lowest form of life, and you will be turned into a smidge, or maybe even killed. By the way, you two, I'm not advocating. I'm just kind of explaining the prison population here. There's a lot of videos that come out of places that, like Russia, for example, and what they do to people like that, and of course the torture that these people go through. And you guys know me, I have no tolerance for these types of people who commit such crimes involving children. I don't exactly like people who commit crimes like this involving women as well. The point is this right here. These people are treated extremely, and I mean extremely badly. However, the thing is this right here. This individual was 6'2", and I'm guessing 6'2", obviously he had some weight on him. Wouldn't you think that maybe someone like that there would probably be okay? Oh, wait, that's right. The judge felt bad for the person who abused children. She didn't feel bad for the child. She didn't feel bad for the child at all. She felt bad for the person who abuses the children. The question is that the mental disorder? Is that the liberalism, which, by the way, is really and truly a mental disorder, and I hope someday we get enough power to where we can classify it as a mental disease, because that really is what the hell it really and truly is. Or is it possible that this person was just simply trying to get up the chain? Let's listen to the last 30 seconds of Ted's little spiel here.
People are typically assigned a gender. I got to say that would astonish a lot of Americans. A lot of Americans think you go to the hospital, a baby is born, and congratulations, you have a little boy, a little girl. The assigned a gender, I know you went to Brown, but it sounds like it's in a college faculty lounge with no bearing on reality. The Bureau of Prison argued what I'm saying right now, that if you put this person in a female prison, there will be a risk of sexual assault to the women. And you know what you did? You said you didn't care about the women.
Assigned a gender at birth. Assigned a gender at birth. That's the language they use. Okay, look. When a child comes out the womb, that's a little boy. That's a little girl. You're not assigned anything. It's what the hell it is. But it gets deeper, especially when you look at all the politics that was going on behind this. So now, let's talk about the Senator John Kennedy side of this discussion.
Remember an inmate named William McLean, also known as July Justine Shelby?
Yes, I know who you're referring to.
Okay. Mr. McLean raped a child, didn't he?
30 years ago, the petitioner in the habeas case before me,
Did he rape a child?
he pled guilty to that crime. Yes, it's abhorrent.
And then he raped he raped a little boy, right?
I believe that's correct. I believe he pled guilty to two acts of sexual violence.
And then he raped a 17-year-old girl, right?
Again, this case was handled by the state court in Indiana, but
I'm just asking you the facts. Don't stall on me now. Did he rape a 17-year-old girl or not after raping a 9-year-old boy?
I believe that's what he pled guilty to.
Okay, and then he went to prison, didn't he?
Yes, the petitioner was.
And then he came out and he sent child porn, basically adults raping little children, to another sex offender. And he was sent back to prison, right?
The petitioner pled guilty to
Was he sent back to prison?
Well, that case was in the federal system, so.
Was he sent back to prison?
Yes, this time.
Repeat offender. Repeat offender. Locked up, released, and sent back. Repeat offender. And the judge has the decision to lock this person up, put this person away for the rest of their life. Now, maybe the inmate, feigned getting Jesus, getting God, becoming a Christian, and maybe they had, I don't know, maybe turned their life around inside the pen, but still a repeat offender. The judge had the decision to put a child rapist away for life, and yet chose to let them go. The other day there was a nice little quote from the little discussion that Pearl Davis had with Lauren Chin. I watched all of that, and of course, me being the person who favors more Lauren's side of actual politics, but I think Pearl made some extremely good points, especially when it comes to relationships. Pearl asked a question to Lauren: do you allow a repeat or a reformed Schmido into the church? Do you allow them at the leadership position? Lauren couldn't really answer the question, and of course, Pearl just simply said, no, you put him at the back of the line. This is not one of those cases. This right here is a case where a guy offended, then reoffended, got out, then reoffended again. Let's watch some more.
Thank you. And then he decided to transition, and he became a female and started going by July Justine Shelby. Is that right?
Yes.
And Ms. Shelby said, I don't want to go to a male prison. I want to go to a female prison. And the Board of Prisons said, what planet did you parachute in from? You're going to a male prison with this kind of record. And you sent him to a female prison.
It seems to me, given the fact that these types of individuals are now allowed to compete in women's sports, they're allowed to identify as such. I mean, it seems to me like what the hell is going on here is that the liberals are showing you deep down inside that they really and truly do not value women. But of course, and I've said this before and I'll say this again, that the U.S. left, which we oftentimes call communistic, is not the same as actual communists in the Soviet Union back in their day. It's a completely different animal. The ideals, for the most part, are close to the same, but it's a completely different animal. I think that U.S. progressives, they base a lot of this off of good old-fashioned mental illness, and they create a lot of delusions in their mind. They want to bring those delusions to the earth, and that's their actual worldview. But that's a different conversation altogether. Let's watch some more of this because it does actually get deeper, especially when we start talking about things like, was this person hormonally a man? Was this person, I don't know. But it gets very, very weird and convoluted, but trust me, you'll see at the very end exactly how insane this is.
You said that the Board of Prisons was trying to violate Ms. Shelby, former Mr. McLean's constitutional rights, didn't you?
I issued a report and recommendation to the district judge recommending that the district judge transfer the petitioner to a women's facility. The district judge adopted that recommendation.
You said the Board of Prisons was trying to violate Ms. Shelby's, Mr. McLean's constitutional rights, didn't you?
So I based my decision on the facts that were presented to me in the record
But
evidence.
it wasn't that your ruling?
I recommended finding that under Estelle versus Gamble.
Why won't you admit that was your ruling? Are you ashamed of it today?
I'm not. I'm answering the question.
She was more worried about the offender. She was more worried about the offender's rights than the other people's rights. Like I said before, she cared a lot more about the person who committed the acts and repeatedly committed the acts than she did about the people who had the acts done on them. But let's continue.
Applied Estelle versus
But
Gamble.
was that your ruling?
My recommendation was that the petitioner's serious medical needs were being denied by keeping her in a men's facility.
A violation of the Eighth Amendment, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And how big was Ms. Shelby, Mr. McLean?
I don't have a specific recollection. Your colleague just suggested that she was
6'2"?
more than 6 feet tall.
And you told the Board of Prisons, well, she'll be okay. The other women in the female prison will be okay because it's only hypothetical that Ms. Shelby, Mr. McLean would reoffend again.
It's only a hypothetical that he would reoffend again, even though he's already reoffended. And he's in an environment where he's going to have the opportunity to offend all the time. I really and truly believe that it's more the world view. Go back to what I said before. Judges have the ability to have this ability, it's called common law, to kind of sort of make the law in a way, meaning they can make the decision on the actual sentencing. They can make the decision on that. She goes in there. What does she do? She fights the actual prison system itself. And it says, no, this person's constitutional rights are being violated. This person's constitutional rights are, in fact, being violated. Hypothetical may make you think that, well, maybe this right here is she's doing this maybe because she's trying to advance her career. And, of course, this right here is, in fact, the case. However, I think what we're dealing with is soulless entities that care nothing more about their advancement while at the exact same time pushing an ideology that I think a lot of these people don't even really truly believe in. But still, though, she had to go in there and fight the board against her better judgment. Because remember, if you remember correctly, earlier in this ordeal, she said that this person's acts were absolutely abhorrent. But yet she let him go into the women's facility anyways. Fascinating stuff. Let's watch this last
Ms.
part.
Shelby, Mr. McLean would reoffend again after he's already raped a 9-year-old boy and a 17-year-old girl and has been sending child porn through the mail. You said there's no chance he'll reoffend again. Did you say that?
Senator Kennedy, I based my decision on the record.
But am I
evidence.
right? Did you conclude that?
I don't have a specific recollection of that. I did recommend that after finding a constitutional violation.
What were you thinking in saying there's no, it's only hypothetical that she would reoffend?
The facts of the case were that the petitioner had last engaged in a contact offense 30 years ago. The petitioner had not engaged in any contact offense. In addition, the medical evidence made clear that for the last 5 years, the petitioner was sober and hormonally entirely a female, and there was no evidence.
The Board of Prisons didn't agree with you. I'm not going to run out of time here. You're really a political activist, aren't you?
I am not, sir.
But your record demonstrates otherwise.
I understand the 30-year part, but still at the same time, though, we have no idea what this person did within that time frame. A lot of these people will still continue to offend, and by the way, not only do they still continue to offend, but a lot of their victims don't even actually speak up about this. The fact of the matter is that Senator Kennedy is actually 100% correct. This person appears more to be a political activist than she does an actual judge, but there is always the possibility that this person really and truly is insane. But go back to what I said before. Judge made law. You had the ability to sentence this person a little bit different. You had the ability to sentence this person harder. You had the ability to keep this person inside the actual male facility. The Board of Prisons themselves had said they're going to go into a male prison, but yet what did she do? She went out of her way to claim that this person's rights were being violated. And yes, I do understand that criminals in this nation do have rights, but still at the same time, though, common sense, common law suggests that guess what? This particular individual does not need to be inside of a prison with a bunch of women. Pretty daggone common sense. And this right here is why it's so important that everybody out there pays attention to the actual judges themselves. Actually try to get an idea of what their record is. I think if you actually start with the judges in state and local government, you can fix a lot of the problems that we're going through in this society today. Yesterday, Trump had a rally in the Bronx, and one of the first speakers he had up there was screaming, we need to vote Republican at every level, including the city council. The thing that you got to understand about the way you vote on the city council is that most of the local politicians you tend to know a lot better because you know them personally. If you can get these people in there, and of course, if they do the right job, of course, you pick the right people for that. I mean, for all you know, it could be a common sense, good old-fashioned Democrat that could actually do it too, at least on the local level. I've dealt with situations where I have grew up at, where, believe it or not, the Democrat was actually much, much more sensible and had a lot more of a, let's just say, a lot more compassion for issues like this. Right? This is back in like the 90s, of course, before the party went completely and totally freaking loony. That, of course, the right thing was done. And, of course, the Republicans at the time were running more on what actually is good for the economy, and that's it. The Democrat was focusing on other issues. Of course, that's changed today. Obviously, the parties have really and truly flipped. The Democratic Party has become the heartless, soulless party, where the Republican Party, on the other hand, has actually developed some common sense, and they're actually looking at everything. The fact of the matter is it starts at the state and local level. It does start with the actual judges themselves. Remember something. These same judges also get plucked eventually to go to the Supreme Court. I mean, where do you think these judges on the Supreme Court got their start at? They're an attorney. They go to law school, become an attorney, represent some clients, defense, prosecution. They advance through the chain, of course, through their decisions primarily, and eventually they become judges. They become local judges. Then from local judges, they become state-level judges, district judges. That's how they actually get nominated and get up to the Supreme Court. Very, very rarely does a Supreme Court justice or a Supreme Court justice ever been pulled from a local body, a lower-level body like that. They typically tend to get pulled from the district judges. This person right here could have very, very well found herself, possibly on the Supreme Court someday, or could if we have the wrong leadership, because obviously she's auditioning for a district court judge job, which is primarily where most Supreme Court judges are pulled from. And let me give you one last thing before I end this video. Your current Supreme Court right now is made up of supposedly 6 conservatives and 3 liberals. I think the real truth is it's closer to 3 conservatives, 1 moderate conservative, 1 moderate conservative with maybe some weird leanings, and then, of course, also to go on top of that, you have another one who claims to be a conservative but sides with liberals from time to time, and then you've got 3 actual liberals. Well, one of those liberals is Ketanji Brown Jackson. I'm showing you guys some stuff right here about Ketanji Brown Jackson. She had a bit of a dust-up long before she couldn't identify what a woman was. She decided to, maybe let some of these offenders go herself. I'm just simply saying that this right is exactly how important this position is. The courts are extremely important. And when you have loons like this right here on the court, this right here kind of helps shape the society that we're living in. The very, very odd, weird society where up is down, black is white, orange is now suddenly red. all that type of stuff. And that right here is the reason why we're in this situation we are today. But tell me what you guys think in the comment section. I figured I'd get political before we go to the weekend. By the way, we've got one video coming out on Saturday, so if you guys are around, make sure you guys see it. Other than that, though, have a good weekend. Have a happy Memorial Day weekend. Please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sign off in the comment section. I'll see you guys later.